Hello, my friend, and thank you so much for popping by. My name is Rita Pobalozi. Feel free to call me Bui. This week, I'm actually reflecting on some of the speeches that were made at the United Nations General Assembly. These are speeches that were made by representatives from various countries. Sometimes it was the president, sometimes it was a representative from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So these are the speeches that I'm reflecting on this week, and specifically to illustrate one of the core values of this channel, which is that I want to show what social determinants of health are and how they affect, sometimes negatively, our health outcomes. And I think the United Nations General Assembly is a perfect place for you to understand how geographical location, where you live, where you were born, where you work, can be a social determinant of health, as you will see when I do the analysis of these speeches on this clip today. All right, so into the actual analysis of the speeches and how they show us how geographical location is a social determinant of health. I looked at the speeches of 5 representatives from the global south or the developing world, and I also looked at 5 representatives from the global north or the developed world, right? And in the developing world, I looked at obviously Botswana president, bias over here. I looked at the Botswana president, I looked at the Zambia representative, I looked at the South African president, the Kenyan president, and the Malawi president's speeches. And then in the global north or developing world context, I looked at Sweden, United States, Australia, Germany, and Great Britain. I keep saying I looked at, but I was listening to these speeches, right? Something else which I thought was interesting about these speeches is that almost all of the speakers started by highlighting war and conflict in various regions, specifically in the developing world context. But outside of that, what I think is interesting about the speeches is the tone and the theme of the developed versus developing world context. And I say this when I mean, and what I mean by this, when I say the tone and the theme, is that if you look at the speeches of the Botswana, Zambia, South Africa, Kenya, Malawi representatives, and in comparison to the speeches by Sweden, USA, Australia, Germany, and Great Britain, you will see that there's this theme about who is giving aid and who is receiving aid, right? Who's going to commit to providing more aid and who is crying out for more aid. I think that was one of the big themes and the disparities between the speeches of the participants or the representatives from the global south versus from the global north. And I'm going to pick up some of the amounts that were being mentioned in the case of the United States President Biden. President Biden mentioned that $150 billion has been distributed to aid, 20 billion to food security, 50 billion for global health. And he also mentioned the most current outbreak of mpox in Africa specifically, where they are donating $500 million to help with alleviating the spread and the influence and impact of monkeypox in the African region. So there was a clear disparity between the speeches of the representatives from the global north and the representatives from the global south in terms of aid, who is giving aid and who's going to be receiving aid. That was a major theme between, or disparities between the two regions. I hope you're having a lovely day where you are, my friend. But most importantly, I hope you're having a healthier day where you're watching from.